The Nevada desert was built to swallow secrets. In August 1976, Raymond Harlow, a 31-year-old civilian contractor at Nellis Air Force Base, arrived for a routine logistics shift. A veteran-turned-mechanic, Raymond handled surplus aircraft parts and controlled access to procurement manifests worth millions. That day, he signed out a Jeep, entered Hangar 14 with 3 others, and by evening, was gone. 2 days later, the Jeep turned up abandoned near a service road. At first, it looked like desert heatstroke or desertion. But when accountants checked the ledgers, $3.9 million in base funds had vanished. Every trace pointed to Raymond's credentials. The Air Force launched a massive search. Nothing. No body, no tracks, no plane missing. By year's end, the FBI joined in, but the trail evaporated. When the file closed in 1980, it bore one phrase: unresolved, internal fraud risk. By 1983, Raymond's wife, Lillian, had remarried. The house was auctioned. Raymond was declared legally dead. The missing millions became local legend, whispered about by airmen and Vegas bartenders, dismissed by officials as an accounting myth. But 2 miles east of the base, a small stucco house stood untouched for decades, deeded under a shell company that had existed for less than a year. R. Harlow Construction Co. Ethan Miller, a home inspector, was checking a foreclosed property on Caraway Drive, once owned by a retired Air Force colonel. The house was ordinary, until Ethan noticed a faint seam in the garage wall. Fresh concrete, wrong texture. He tapped. Hollow. The next day, he returned with tools and broke through. Behind the plaster was a narrow chamber, a cot, rusted heater, jerry cans, and a duffel bag stacked with cash, wrapped in federal bands marked 1976. The FBI later weighed it: $397,000. Property records told the impossible truth. The house was built in 1978, 2 years after Raymond's disappearance. Its first listed owner, R. Harlow Construction Co. Within a year, the deed changed hands twice. Finally to the colonel who'd lived there until his death. Raymond hadn't vanished into Mexico. He'd built himself a vault within walking distance of the base that hunted him. Agents tore apart the home. The secret room had been wired with its own lights and air vent. Someone had lived there, off and on, for years. A single photo lay in a crate, Raymond beside an aircraft fuselage, smiling. On the back, for when the world stops asking. Fingerprints on the bills matched his service records. After 27 years, the Air Force finally had its thief. What it didn't have was an explanation. Investigators pieced together his last days. On August 12, 1976, Raymond processed disposal forms for obsolete avionics worth roughly $4 million. He manipulated the paper trail, redirecting funds from destruction to a dummy account under a contracting alias. Over 3 nights, he withdrew the total in cash from the base credit union, citing classified procurement. No one questioned him. By the time auditors noticed, he was gone, driving a Jeep full of cash into the desert. The brilliance wasn't in the theft, it was in what came next. Instead of running, he buried himself in plain sight. Raymond used part of the money to establish a fake construction company, secured a permit, and built the Caraway Drive house. Behind its garage, he poured a second foundation and sealed it from the inside. Neighbors later recalled a man visiting at night, quiet, limping slightly, always carrying a toolbox. He'd disappear again for months. But the power lines running under the wall showed the hidden room remained active well into the 1980s. Whoever lived there had planned to stay alive, or stay hidden. The colonel who owned the house was no random buyer. In the colonel's files, agents found a letter dated 1981, unsigned but postmarked from New Mexico. "You never saw me. The money stays where it is. When it's quiet, someone will know how to find it. R." The colonel never mentioned it, never touched the cash. For 25 years, he lived atop that sealed room, mowing the lawn, attending base reunions, keeping his secret buried beneath concrete. When he died, that silence cracked open. Raymond's old colleagues described him as meticulous, bitter, and tired of military waste. "We were throwing out million-dollar parts," one recalled, while his wife couldn't pay her hospital bills. Maybe to him, the $3.9 million wasn't theft, it was justice. But then something shifted. Instead of spending it, he hid it. Maybe he feared detection, maybe guilt, or maybe he realized he could never truly spend government money without leaving fingerprints. Reporters digging into the reopened case found that Raymond had rented several small storage units around Las Vegas in 1976, claiming they held parts for destruction. One unit survived until 2004, long forgotten. Inside, nothing but a single brass key sealed in wax, labeled C14. Hangar 14, the same hangar where he vanished. Base archivists later discovered its maintenance logs had missing pages from August 1976. No one could explain why. The money, one agent wrote, may have been the smallest part of what disappeared. Two credible sightings surfaced. Gallup, New Mexico, 1982. Motel guest, mid-40s. Cash payment, vanished overnight. Sonora, Mexico, 1985. Man stopped at a border checkpoint, carrying aviation tools, matching Raymond's photo but identifying as Robert Hale. Before officers could verify, he drove off into the desert. His abandoned truck was found days later. On the dash, "You can't steal what was already lost." After that, nothing. Some agents believed Raymond died in the desert days after the heist, his remains consumed by the land. Others think he lived decades under aliases, drifting between states and safe houses. The most haunting theory: he never left Nevada at all, just lived quietly, visiting the colonel's house, sleeping above the cash he could never touch. When he finally died, the colonel kept the promise sealed behind that wall. In her final report, Special Agent Dana Whitaker wrote, "He beat the system not by brilliance but by blending in. The perfect camouflage was ordinariness. Nobody suspects the man fixing their air conditioner." She ended the memo with a single question. What if the money was bait? The missing avionics, the erased ledgers, the fake disposal orders. All hinted that Raymond's theft might have covered up something far larger, something buried by bureaucracy itself. But with the thief long gone, the truth was untouchable. The FBI reclaimed the cash, cataloged every serial number, and burned most of it after verification. A few bills remain framed in the Las Vegas field office, labeled Operation Desert Ledger, 1976-2003. The Caraway Drive house was demolished in 2005 after excavation destabilized the foundation. Today, the lot is empty, a rectangle of cracked concrete, weeds curling through gravel. Locals call it the quarter lot, because it once held a fortune. At night, people swear they see a man standing at the fence line, cigarette glowing, staring at the ground where the wall once stood. When agents showed Lillian the photos of the hidden room, she cried. "He called me once, a month after he disappeared," she said. "He said, I did what they'd never let me do. I made things right. Then the line went dead." She never heard from him again. In 2006, Nevada Journal reporter Mara Vance received a package postmarked from Tucson. Inside, a yellowed page and a single typed message. "You found the wrong house. The real vault isn't made of concrete, it's in the people who look the other way. Keep digging. R." No fingerprints. The ink was from a typewriter model discontinued in 1981. If it was authentic, Raymond was still alive, or someone wanted the world to think so. The Air Force lists the case as closed, funds recovered, theft resolved. But investigators who lived with it for decades disagree. Too many files gone, too many witnesses dead, too many convenient oversights. Perhaps Raymond wasn't stealing for himself but erasing evidence of something buried deeper. Untraceable shipments, phantom contracts, a secret worth more than cash. Whatever his motive, he exposed a truth no one wanted to face. Even in institutions built on surveillance, the ordinary man can still disappear. Sometimes the only way to disappear is to hide in plain sight.